Okay, I'm looking at your faces for one last time over here, and here you guys are. Here you are, period 6. And here's period 1. Here you are. See yourselves? Isn't that cool? All right, so I was just looking at you guys getting all, what's the word? Sentimental. No, it's not really. But yeah, you would think that I would be, but it's been a long time. But it was a great year. I had a good time with all you guys, and I don't usually get the chance to do this because obviously I don't retire very often. Yeah, this is my first time, so I really don't know exactly what to do. But it's kind of neat that I had you guys as my last year, and that's kind of cool because whether you love me, hated me, I was if you want me to tell you how you compare to the other classes that I've had, it was a lot of fun. Okay, we really had a good time, and I was glad to have had all you guys. Not to get all weepy on you or anything, because I'm not that guy. But it really was, and so I kind of want to sum things up, tell you about why are we doing this last project. If you're watching this, you kind of I hope are gonna realize that after 2 videos of this, maybe or 3, I don't know how many I'm gonna end up with this by the time I'm done recording. But after a few of these videos, you're probably sick of seeing my face, especially with this beard. I mean, seriously, look at this thing. But yeah, but other than that, what was my point of doing this last thing? It wasn't just to say goodbye, which is, that's one of the points. It's nice to say goodbye and kind of make fun of Claudia and, Sam and Hagen and all you guys again. But on top of that, I really do hope that some of this stuff that I've told you has done something to alleviate a little bit of your fears. Because, I want you to look this stuff up, but I want you to, on COVID-19, and I want you to use the tools I've given you. I've given you quite a few tools here. Okay, if you look at the anatomy to scare, which I just did in this video, if you look at the previous video on what I would have had you do on the paper, I told you how to look at it. Break it up into 3 parts. What's the science behind it? What's the 2 sides? Look at both sides. Decide for yourself. And then finally, where do you fall? Okay? I want you to do all that for a couple of reasons. All right? I don't want you to just fall for every single, thing, the next thing that comes along. All right? There's an old saying, I think it was G.K. Chesterton said that if you... maybe it wasn't him, but either way, if you don't stand for anything, you'll fall for everything. And that's pretty much how it goes. You have to take a stand. You got to figure things out. You got to figure out where you stand in whatever issue you're talking about. And it should be an informed opinion. And I want it to be your informed opinion. It doesn't have to be mine. I've given you some of my opinions on here, but I've looked up some of that stuff. You're welcome to double check all that. Anything I've written in here, any of the graphs I've shown you, you're welcome to email me. Tell me, hey, this graph was from this website and it wasn't correct. That's fine. It's been, like I said, we're in the middle of this stuff. I could have made some mistakes. I put a lot of information out there. I'm just telling you where I fall right now. That may change. It may change over the course of the next couple of weeks or months. I don't know. It might. But I do know it's been fun and we've had a good time. And I really have enjoyed being with you guys for as long as you have. I know most of you guys didn't end the year the way you wanted to. I mean, it would be nice to have had actual classes and see your friends and go to the prom and all those things. And that's too bad. It's too bad for you. And that's kind of one of the problems that when I really do feel like normally what am I doing? I'm yelling at you guys, telling you how your generation doesn't understand it. I understand that. I don't, it's bad of me to do probably, but I'm old. So that's my job. That's what old people do. They yell at people, get off my lawn. That's what you do when you're old, so I understand that, I hope you understand that. But in this case, I really do feel bad for you guys, because this is the world you're going to inherit. This is the world you're going to have to live in. And in a lot of cases in the past when I've said this, it's kind of like been, well, they don't know any better. So it's like, so what? Like, yeah, it'd be nice if they knew about the great outdoors and they weren't just playing on their phones all the time. And that's a shame. I see that and I feel bad for you about that. But I know that you don't really see it. I know you don't. Because you're in the, you didn't know the other world. that I knew growing up. But the problem is this coronavirus, in my opinion, is going to really change your lives, and you're going to notice it. You did not grow up for the first 16, 17, or 18 years of your life. You did not grow up in a world where you couldn't shake hands and you couldn't hug somebody without being, looked at wrong. You had to wear a mask on the way into every establishment you ever enter. I hope to God that that's not going to be the case in the future. It may be. I hope it's not for you, because that's not the kind of world I want to live in, which is kind of goes back to the old saying I always use all the time. Thank God I'm going to die soon. I mean, that's really the word it comes down to. I mean, eventually you get to the point in your life where you don't recognize the world you were born into. And that's kind of where I am right now, especially with this COVID stuff. Sorry. I gotta edit that out. I'll have to mute it. I know how to do this with my little program here. I will edit that little expletive out. But honestly, I don't really I don't want to live in a world like that. I don't want to live in a world where you can't, shake hands and you can't, get within 6 feet of someone else. And I hope to God you don't have to. But right now it looks like that's exactly what your world's going to be like, where you're not going to have a graduation where your parents can come and see you. You're going to have to drive through a drive-in. I hope that that's not going to be your life. Because in the past, like I said, I've been very bad about, berating your generation for all the, the ease that you've had of life compared to my grandparents and my parents. Not me. I'm not saying that I would fall in that category. I certainly didn't have a hard life. But you guys are going to. You're going to have a harder life than I did. And for reasons like this, because you're going to live in the middle of a scare story, possibly for a very long time, that's going to suck up a great portion of the best years of your life. And that's really too bad. I do feel bad for you guys, and I'm not saying that in any flippant way at all. Because you know me, because I would tell you if you were being babies. You're not being babies. You're being told to be. You are the victim of circumstances beyond your control. And unfortunately, I don't know what the solution to that is. I really don't. But if I had any advice, I may not have a solution, but if I had any advice to you, I guess it would be you're going to have to learn how to live with fear much sooner than the average person does. I was thinking about this the other night. I was going to bed, and it was like going through my head. It's like when I first said, I know a lot about fear that you don't because you're young. I'm not saying this because I'm such a great guy. I'm saying this because this is true. Older people know more about fear than young people do. That's why young people do stupid things. They do idiotic things and dangerous things. They take risks that, older people know are, bad. All right. But the thing is, there's a learning curve to everything you do, including fear. You're going to have to learn that learning curve much faster than your previous generations, your parents, or maybe even your grandparents. Because I am almost as old as your grandparents. I'm certainly as old as your parents. But that's the deal. I mean, that's going to be the problem for you guys. Because, I think about fear in my life. In my life, the first time I really felt fear was when I had kids and children. And so my own kids, not students, my own kids. When you have a baby, immediately you start to think about, like you're checking on them at night. Are they breathing? And I was worried about a lot of stuff that was in the media at the time. Same kind of stuff that I'm trying to save you from. The SIDS was a big thing back then. You know what SIDS stood for? I'm sure most of you don't, because it hasn't been I haven't heard that phrase in probably 30 years since my kids were born. Sudden infant death syndrome. That's right. Throw that in with the murder hornets, because that's what they did to scare you back then. Now, granted, they didn't have the internet to do it. They didn't have the ways they have nowadays. But I mean, like, so you're worried, which way should which way should my kid sleep? Should he be on his belly? Should he be on his back? My infant. And then when they got older, you're worried about vaccines, you know? And like, all that stuff. Some people went, hog wild on one side. I'm never giving my kid a vaccine. And that's how they dealt with that fear. Because my kids did have reactions to the vaccines. Some had high fevers, So, as they got older, you're worried about them going to school. And for the first time in their lives, they're out of your sight for 8 hours a day. And will they have friends? And will they get married? And all of those things that you worry about. And the fear. And the thing is, when I was very, very young and just had my kids, it was very hard to deal with those fears. But as you get older, you start to learn how. You learn how to deal with those kind of fears. You're not going to have that learning curve. I often you've heard me use this before. It's kind of like the learning curve in a video game, trying to use an analogy here. If you do the first level of a game that has 15 levels, it seems pretty hard. And then pretty soon, when you have to get through the entire game, you go back to that first level. Oh my God, this is so easy. How was that so hard? That's why so many people, so many older people, so many of your grandparents and parents look back and say to themselves, man, I wish, these are the best times of your life when you're little and, you have no worries and stuff, and like, I understand why they say that because, it's like going back to level 1 and say, oh my God, this is easy. Here's the difference. Here's the problem with your lives. You're not going to have that learning curve. You're not going to have that slow learning curve that we all had, okay? I mean, I had the same fears that you're going to face, but you're going to face them way sooner than I did. And this is I've been teaching for 30 some years, and I'm telling this to you guys, never said this to another class. Most other classes, I kind of talked about how pampered they were. You heard me talk about that to you guys most of the year. I'm not saying that anymore. I've never seen anything like this where the world has come to a crashing halt. All right, and we're all being told to hide under the beds. Don't open your mail. Spray it with disinfectant. I mean, I'm just sorry, but I feel bad for you guys. I don't feel bad for myself. I mean, I don't have to deal with this for very much longer, but I do feel bad for you guys. So I guess if I had any advice to give you guys, all right, for whatever it's worth, I would have to say, in this age of fear, to fear not. Be not afraid. I know I'm not the first person to say that. And I hope you guys know who was. But even if you don't, it's good advice. It's good advice at any time. So it's been a good year. And I was happy to have been your teacher. And I was happy to have had you guys as my last class. Good luck. You will need it.